Well, hello there. My name is Carl Stevens. I'm the scribe for Thaddeus Barlow, the wizard detective and author of They Call Me Merlin Sherlock. Thaddeus writes with a quill pen, obviously, and it's my job to transcribe what he writes by quill into computers so that other people can read them all around the world. Thaddeus also has a difficulty with webcams. They tend to explode around him, a minor inconvenience. So I have agreed to help him make this web video. Well, in effect, I'm making this web video for him because he can't be anywhere in the room lest, well, like I said, the camera might explode. So what I'm going to do is read to you the first chapter of They Call Me Merlin Sherlock. As an added feature, I'm going to do it while attempting to mimic Thaddeus's voice. Um, Thaddeus hates it when I do this. He says that I have a lousy fake British accent and that I'm clearly doing it just to mock him. And he's probably right on both counts. But nevertheless, here I go. They call me Merlin Sherlock, not because that's my name, and not because I'm particularly good at being a detective, and certainly not because I saw them coming. They take you at age 13 without any choice or foreknowledge on your part. One day you are drowsing in your father's study over a tome of fairy tales with no idea that they are all true. Not literally. Literarily, perhaps. All kernels of truth coated over with fancy. Then they take you for 13 times 13 years, during which you only age 13, which, if you follow the math, you understand I'm 182 years old, can pass for 26, but according to Melda have all the social sophistication of a retrogressed 12. She just now made me stick that part in, and I'll insist that I describe the most paltry details of this moment. Oh, very well. I am sitting at my desk. A very good desk it is, solidly rooted to the earth by its weight, as the original oak was before it was felled by a massive stroke of lightning. Not an ordinary stroke of lightning. It had shrugged off a dozen of those, and grown all over it in the charred scars the magical mistletoe. From this finely felled tree, felled by a stroke of power reaching back to the ages, was carved the desk upon which I write, not cobbled together out of planes of dead wood in a craftsman's shop, but carved from the still living wood, as the tree lay felled, surrounded by its brethren. A huge block of wood it was, a huge block of wood it is, showing scars and grain. The wizard who carved it took the time and care to remove all blockages of flow, both physical and otherwise. Each drawer slides with the ease of a silken cord on a velvet pillow. Many a cubbyhole is hidden to the prying eye, even that of the meddling Melda, only to spring open to a deft touch as lightly as a butterfly's wing fluttering upon your hand. Well, my hand, of course, because it would not do for a wizard's secret cubbyhole to flutter open for just anyone. Tell them about the pen? I do not understand this girl, but very well. It is a normal, everyday pen. A quill, plucked from the breast of a living and acquiescent grey goose, such that it is charged with the positive energies of her approval and her maternal ties to the life she was incubating at the time. Most critically, it was her 13th clutch of eggs, and as I can see one of her chicks out the window, I am sure, yes, there she is with the rest of the brood in tow, waddling by on some important business. I would tell you her name, but that would earn me a much deserved hiss of disapproval, as I'm sure you understand. Hmm? If Melda asks me to annotate every little thing, I never will get this story written. Well, of course, everyone knows. Now I think about it, she is right. How would you know about the sacred bond between those who speak with geese and the geese themselves unless you shared it? So few do. Geese are one of those animals that are very touchy about their real names. People may call them what they will or not. I believe most inhabitants of the village merely call her Goose or Damn Bird. But as a friend, I am allowed to know her proper name. As a friend, I am also trusted to keep her proper name to myself. Cats are like that too, very touchy about the name thing. That even a non-wizard knows about from that recent poem by that Eliot fellow. Melda tells me that most of you probably know it from something called The Musical Cats, and the poem is ancient history. You will have to forgive me for that. Having spent 169 years in wizard kindergarten, the 19th century is as fresh to me as the 21st, and the entire 20th gets mixed up in the jumble. I'm afraid I could say the same about millennia as well. Both is a good thing and a bad thing, but I will get to that later. Right now, apparently, I'm supposed to describe the ink. What can I say? It is ink. Your common, everyday iron gall ink made from the very oak which engendered the desk. A pleasingly dark purple which in any but the brightest sunshine appears quite black and flows from the quill with the same graceful ease as the desk drawers slide. Before she can interrupt me to describe some such trifle as the constitution of the paper, I will preempt Melda by mentioning something that is of importance. In the garden there is a patch of ground, untrod. No human foot has ever left an imprint there, nor so much as a finger-tip has disturbed the connection between earth and sky flowing through this spot. Plants thrive there unmolested. The oak from whence came this desk lived there for untold human lives before the first woman planted any seed anywhere, and for 1,000 years after the Roman Empire was dispelled, an illusion no longer believed. The moment the oak fell is one of those things I have learned to keep in the practice of my craft as closely as a dear friend's name. Currently, it is a patch of grass open to anyone to step upon, but, of course, you cannot. As the foot rises, you shift without noticing that you do so, that you step beside the patch but never on it. The quick red fox bounding by hops for no apparent reason. The hound in pursuit sniffs exhaustively everywhere else. The pounding hoof just misses, with the rider in pinks unaware. The wall is built, making it a garden, but the patch was just as protected before it became the anchor of my home and a source of power for the village wizard. There is an important point for you, the wizard's connection to the powers eterne. I let her read that, and all I get for my trouble is, well, go ahead, do tell them about the paper. I begin to despair of any progress. I do have a purpose here, you know. Oh, very well. Consider me overly indulgent if you must, but now I turn to the paper. The oak was large, stupendously so, scraping clouds from the sky as a reed gathering milkweed puffs on a summery day. It will hardly surprise the thoughtful reader that it could thus produce a prodigious number of things useful to the patient beseecher of its bounty. By itself it would have produced a rather stiff and crackly paper, but when properly blended with 7,000-year-old fibers grown in the regularly flooded cotton fields of an wizard of Egypt, solid oak and cotton puff make a paper delightful to the touch and thirsty for the ink. Not overly so, but just eager enough to sop up a drop and leave a line clean and clear to be read easily after 100 years. And of course I see now that this is no trifle at all. I have extolled her 1,000 times to see the depths around her which purposeful haste so often blinds her to, and here I have been blinded by my own purpose. I want to explain myself to my brother wizards, but the context in which I do so is very important to the purpose. Indeed, I would say it is the purpose, for the context is the self I wish to explain. Thank you, Melda. She rightly points out that I have referred to her several times. As such, she must be a part of the context as well. Yet I have left her a disembodied voice, a name, a suggestion, here and there, but no person upon whom my poor abused reader can latch any concrete image. I doubt any sensitive reader would find my delicate style one to leave the imagination impoverished, nor abused in but this one sense, but I will graciously accept her proposal, if not her words, and take a moment to describe my imperative interlocutor. Melda suggests I describe her as a 26-year-old Wanda Sykes, with distinctively stiff and red hair, as this will call up for many people a useful, if not perfect, image. I do not know Miss Sykes, and am quite certain that as such the image will not work for my intended audience. She will distract me and has several times for the purpose of this exposition, which is, in short, to beseech my fellow wizards to refrain from the scurrilous sobriquet of Merlin the Sherlock. Ah, here comes Mother waddling back. Well, of course, I cannot use a goose's proper name in public without giving insult, so with others I use the simple honorific, acknowledging the fact that she is rearing her 13th brood. Now, why is Melda snickering again? I really must describe her so that you may see the inappropriate face she is making at me even now. And thus endeth the first chapter of They Call Me Merlin Sherlock, and thus beginneth the Thaddeus and Melda mystery series. I hope you enjoyed it.